According to the Bible, Psalm 35 verse 10, Jehovah rescues the helpless from those who are stronger. The level of Lewisham College, I believe, they do condone, from what I've been through, I strongly believe that they do condone abuses, all forms of abuse, because, and I'm going to highlight some of the level of abuse I went through there. And yeah, so I was being, when I enrolled in 2022, I enrolled on a culinary course at the college, and the head of the culinary, Tanya Sumner, she sent an email to say that she was actually looking forward to me, to me attending the course and blah, blah, blah. So when I started the course at the college, this woman, Tanya, the first time we started, I think our tutor was, it was an Asian teacher. It was very dark, short man, and I think along the way he said he wasn't, he couldn't do the course or something. He couldn't teach us, and I think the excuse they gave was that he was having some family issues or something like that. So then Tanya had to take over. But when she did, this woman, was a bit hostile, towards me. And in class, whenever she starts with her sarcastic comments and what, and then she'll be looking at me. But in all that situation, I just kept ignoring. I just, try my possible best not to. She was really, really, I don't know what was she. Anyway. And for example, one day we were in the pastry kitchen, whereby we were going to bake some we were going to make some spring rolls. And she had asked me to crack the eggs. I think in my previous video I didn't really go in depth about that. So she asked me to, so we were grouped in pairs. Let me start off by that. And then the one I was working with was a guy from Somalia. I'm called Ethiopia. The reason why how I know he was from Ethiopia, because I remember him talking about the Battle of Adwa, and so I know it's Ethiopia. Yeah. So he was from Ethiopia, an Ethiopian background, and so he was the one I was working with. And then so he was there when Tanya asked me, and he was called Mohammed. So when Tanya asked me to crack the egg into the bowl, something like that, which I did. Later for her to turn back and accuse me, and then Mohammed was really, stunned. He was really surprised, and then he even turned back. He turned, towards me and said, but she said you should crack the eggs in the bowl, and which didn't make sense. So clearly, from even this incident, you could see that this woman was up to something. She clearly kept on picking on me. So as time went on, she was no longer. I think we had a new tutor. We had a new teacher in the form of a Cameroonian man who was very short, dark in complexion, and a bit advanced in years anyway. And he had a very complicated name. He had a very, very complicated, long name. So I up to now can't really remember the name, but I know what he said is that he had a PhD in geology, and so I think when we asked, I think I asked why he's doing the chefing, he said due to lack of job or something like that, he's now doing the chef. He started to do chefing because there was a lot of job around or something like that. Yeah, that's what I remember him saying. And sometimes when we come to the class, you start talking about the course, the geology course and stuff like that. So yeah, so that he became our tutor. So because the name was very long and complicated and none of us could really mention it, he just said, to make it easier for all of us, we should just call him Chef. So that is what we did. And so as the course progressed, Beverly, there was a lady called, well, I won't say she's a lady there, an older woman called Beverly Daniel Bleu, who is also known to, be a dancing instructor, who also joined she joined the course. She also taught at the college or something like that as well. That dancing lessons or whatever. So she was familiar with most of the teachers there. So more like she was a student, but also a teacher there. So there was a level of rapport and a level of what do you call it? Level of interest involved anyway. So she kept on. This lady also kept on. That is Beverly. She kept on harassing me. And the reason why I say that is that normally when we come to class, she has a station where she normally stays all the time. She was always seen around the young adults, so I'll say 16 to 18. She normally, she's always with them. But then I noticed that all of a sudden she's moved from that far end to where I was. And I was trying my possible time to move away, but it's like I didn't want her around me. But when people have bad energy and people, they're always troublesome. I don't like to be around people like that. But this woman, she's just staying put. So one time in the kitchen, like I said, she moved away from her station to stand next to me at my station. And she turned up the tap. So we all, our station, everybody had access to a tap where they could obviously wash their vegetables and wash their other stuff. So I kept on trying to avoid her. And so one day when we were doing our bread recipe, it was a bread, we're doing bread. And everyone was in a hurry to put in put their dough after the dough had proven into the oven when the chef, that's the Cameroonian man, had set up the machine. It was ready. And so I wanted to put everybody was trying to put theirs then. So I was also trying to put in my dough. However, this woman, that's Beverly, came in first. She rushed, with a tray, trying to overtake me and put her tray there. I was telling her, but I was there. before, and she got upset, and then she started shouting and saying that if I tried to put my tray in there, she was going to remove the tray and put it on the floor. She was going to remove my dough and throw it on the floor. So it was, like I said before, she kept on picking on me, and anytime she does that, I tried as hard as possible to avoid it. And if you recall, I also said that in every situation I find myself, anything I'm doing, I like to pray. So for some reason, Jehovah gives me a level of peace and this sort of calmness that even when somebody is trying to get on my nerves, for some reason, I have this peace just to ignore these people. It's not like I'm a weakling, because people who know me know I'm not a weakling, but then when you allow God to use you, allow God to take control of your life, certainly, yeah, He does. He's always ahead of you. So try as you might, because all these things she's doing, I know she's doing it to get a reaction from me. And obviously, if I react, it's going to escalate, turn into something else. So I always try to avoid this. And of course, the other students there, they are not blind. They see it. Even to the point that it's not even me, that she does it to other some of the students there. So one day, and her friend used to be Adi. They used to move around, what have you, and and I don't know what happened with them within that friendship. I guess maybe she might have stepped on her Adi's toe, because when that incident happened, that she said she threatened to remove my tray from the oven and throw it on the floor. Ade intervened. She's a Nigerian, intervened, and then she got upset with her and threatened that, well, not, she intervened and said, who is she and why is she? You should always want to take control and blah, 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 something like that. Who is she? And so then Beverly had to say that she wasn't, talking to her, Ade. And so she should mind her business, something like that. And then Ade kept on talking and all that. Everybody was looking at her, Beverly. Eventually, she got upset and left the place, So, during the course, Maria is also one of the students there. However, I mentioned in my previous video that she took interest in me, and that, because what it is that in class I always answer questions, and, I don't know. She just liked me, so during break time, she would ask me to wait for her so that we'll go to break together. Sometimes at the end of the lessons, when we are going home, she will ask me to wait for her, so we go together, and However, along the way, I don't know what happened, but then, and I think one session in the class before the Cameroonian guy took over, I was telling her, whatever Tanya was doing, I think I told her about it, and then she was encouraging me not to pay heed to anyone, and before I know it, we would have completed a course. So after that incident, I noticed that her behavior changed towards me. I don't know what she was told. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, this lady became cold towards me. So I did take the time to approach her and ask her what was the problem. She didn't say anything. She just ignored me. So I also kept my distance. My distance. So back to what I was saying. So that's how come she distanced herself. We both distance ourselves from each other. So after the Cameroonian teacher who did geology and is now doing chefing took over, and after the incident of Beverly threatening to throw away my bread dough, and Ade had to intervene, she also picked Beverly, Daniel Blanc, she also picked a fight with Maria. You know, Maria used to, like I said, she used to be my friend. So I think she assumed that the way I was ignoring the fight, maybe Maria is also like that. Maria, she said, she's more like her, Beverly. She's more like Beverly. So when Beverly, I think Beverly also went to Maria's station where she normally stands to do her station, and I think she opened the tap where she opened Maria's tap to wash her hands, and then as troublesome as she is, she flicked the water in her hand. She was flicking it, and so that got Maria really, really worked up, and Maria started shouting. It became confrontational, and Maria warned her not to try it on her because Maria is not like me. She shouldn't try it with her, not with me. Don't try it with me. That was the warning she gave her. So there was a bit of enmity between them. I could notice that Beverly more like, a level of hatred towards her and all that. And not just Maria, but there were other, she picked up fights with everyone, really, but more in particular with me. So one day, during another cooking session, we were asked to make some polenta with some zucchini and other vegetables. And so that means that we had to grill the vegetables on the grill. And we were all allocated a grill to use. So I chose the grill that was nearer. However, this Beverly came to stand right. Somebody who kept on causing trouble. For some strange reason, she would come and stand next to me as I was grilling my vegetables. And then I had to leave the vegetables to take a plate in order to put my grilled vegetables on the plate. When I came back, she had moved my vegetables and she was attending to hers. So I knew she was just in for trouble. So I called the chef to come and look at what was going on, and that this woman is trying to cause trouble. And I don't want her anywhere around me because it's clearly evident that she just wants to pick a fight. She just wants to cause a trouble. She wants to cause trouble for me to react. And whatever agenda or whatever they have up their sleeve, she's being used as a form of medium. So the chef, was asking her questions, but of course it's like she sees herself as the tutor in the class, to be quite honest, because she didn't give anybody any level of respect there. She did whatever she wanted, like she was above everybody. She didn't need to be spoken to and blah blah and all that. Really, really, I don't know the word to use, but that was it. So I left as the chef tried to get to the bottom of the situation, inquiring from Beverly, who wouldn't really give him any response or whatever. I left the place. I always do. I just try to avoid trouble wherever I can. I left the place and went to my station to stand there. And lo and behold, this Beverly Daniel Blanc, she came back to where I was standing. She was angry. And once she was done with whatever she came to where I was shouting and threatened to hit me with the saucepan. She had a saucepan on her hand. She threatened to hit me with it. And then I dared her to do that because, I mean, obviously you are doing something, somebody doesn't like it. The person is trying as hard as possible to try and avoid you. But persistently, you keep on going around and doing that. What really are you up to? What really was she up to? So the chef, the Cameroonian chef, couldn't obviously keep her under control. So I had to, and because she threatened to hit me with a pan, I had to tell our theory. Chucha, who was named Goran Milovanovic, about the situation, and then he said that I should file a complaint and that he will handle it, which is exactly what I did. And also Ade also told me that she was in favor of the complaint because obviously of the things Beverly was doing, she was in favor of and all that. So, which I did anyway. And so Goran came back after some days, came back and said to me that Tanya Samna said she would take over the case, and that Goran is Tanya Samna is the manager of Goran. So of course he doesn't really have any say if his manager says he's gonna handle the case. So he told me that that's what Tanya says she would do, and if I knew that she was going to, I wouldn't have agreed to her handling, because she doesn't even like me anyway. She doesn't like me. So anyway, I said okay. And so he handled the case, and to the point that I think there were other teachers from another class or whatever. They also came. I've forgotten the woman's name. She claimed she was, but I knew it was a lie. And also I forgot to mention that in the kitchen, one day when we were in the kitchen, I noticed that one English gentleman came in. He stood in front of the door to the kitchen, and where I was, he was taking pictures. He was taking pictures without any consent. He was taking pictures. So my attention was there. I kept on looking at what he was doing. For the name. So when I filed the complaint, a meeting was held, and I obviously had a chance to highlight some of the things that was going on, even to the point of Beverly trying her possible best to, always get on my nerve, and even the threats that she uttered. And so again, they didn't really handle the situation well, because later the lady, I've forgotten the name, but she was just saying something like, "Oh, moving forward, we should just forget about this and that. Moving forward, she's going to ask Beverly to move at an arm's length. Everybody should be like an arm's length away from everyone." And then I think they even made a roof for the kitchen, which I didn't consent to because I knew these people were up to something. I didn't consent to. So Beverly also didn't consent to it. So I knew these people, they were all in the same, I knew what they were up to anyway. So eventually they didn't really deal with the situation as they should professionally. And of course, it seems like they were trying to cover up Beverly's, her actions more than the threat that was dished out to me. So that was how the matter was swept under the carpet. As the course progressed, as I said before, Maria used to be close to me, but along the line, I don't know what happened or what she was told. She became cold towards me. So one day, I was speaking to the chef. I was speaking to the Cameroonian chef regarding one of this, regarding one of the recipes that we were making. So I was standing at Kimbo. So I stood there with my left hand on my waist. I was standing there in front of the chef. And then Maria, she came from outside and then bumped into me. She didn't even say excuse me, but she just bumped into me in front of the chef. The chef saw it, but he didn't say anything. The chef said nothing when he clearly saw what happened. So I even queried him why he didn't say anything, because considering the fact that he was our tutor and he saw what happened. So I was really not happy about it, and of course I didn't want to be confrontational because Maria didn't used to be like that. So why is Maria now behaving like that? So you would wonder what happened for Maria to be in that. Anyway, I'm not trying to justify any whatever. So I complained to our theory teacher, that was Goran Lovanovic, and then he said that I shouldn't worry, that I know why I'm there, and before I know it, I'll complete the course. And also sometimes SHIT happens. He swore, I don't want to mention the word, but he said that it sometimes happens. That's, I should just ignore. I told him that I've been tolerating these things for a while, and this is unacceptable. And then he kept on, telling me that, swearing and saying that sometimes these things happens and all that. So these are professionals who I'm sure they are aware of equality and inclusion, and also safeguarding students and whatever. However, this is the same environment whereby they are condoning levels of abuse and what have you. Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. And also the fact that the Cameroonian teacher couldn't control the class. I mean, especially when Beverly is misbehaving and other students are doing whatever they want and all that. So it's very, very disheartening. So I was very dissatisfied with the way they handled the issues anyway. Towards the end of the course in September 2022, we needed to go through our folders, more like wrap up folders, as he needed to go through the external verifier, and they need to do their checks before any certification could be issued. So the Cameroonian chef, he took time to ensure that each and everyone's folder was up to date, and that they had been signed by each student, and also he had also done his parts. So on one of the days, he asked me to stay back so that we could go through the folder together to ensure that everything was done. So, which I did anyway. So as we're going through the folders, I mean the ones that I need to sign and dates I need to do that, he also needs to do that, because if not, the folder will not be complete, and also, I mean, the necessary certification will not be issued. So, and because I had worked very hard, and I've never missed a lesson since the onset of the course. I had wanted to, obviously, since I started off forcefully, I wanted to also complete on a good note anyway, forcefully as well. So this is what we were doing, but out of nowhere, this Cameroonian tutor, chef, or whatever he calls himself, like I said, I don't know, I can't remember the name, but I know that he was from Cameroon, from the English speaking side, because he did say that in Cameroon they had both English speaking and French speaking, that he didn't understand French, and he understood he came from the English part. So that the little details I remember is what I'm saying. I think I've inserted a picture that I had of him, but I don't have the picture of the face anyway, unfortunately. So that is it. The name I have tried to, but like I said, it's a very complex and complicated name, so I can't remember up to date. Out of nowhere, he just hit my bum. I stood there, I literally froze, because that was very, very out of place, and it was very, very unprofessional. So I had to leave the place immediately. I was very, very emotional about it. I was in fact, I was surprised and shocked. So as I walked towards the changing room, I met Claudine. She was one of the very tall, fair lady who had a diastema in between her teeth. She joined at the latter part of the course. Apparently, she was from a French-speaking country. So she saw that I was not really myself. I wasn't happy. So she asked, "Am I okay?" So then I told her what had happened, and then to think that she would feel for me, she rather told me, she was begging me that I shouldn't tell Goran Milovanovic, because that would be damaging to the tutor. That's the Cameroonian tutor. Can you imagine that? Can you really, really imagine that? I was very, very devastated. I was shocked. So not only was I emotionally abused there, physically abused there, sexually also I was abused, because what right does this teacher have to hit me on the bum? It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It seems that like my feelings didn't even matter. So because for her to even tell me not to, she was more interested in protecting the teacher rather than, feeling my pain. So I was in a dilemma in terms of filing a complaint, considering the bad ordeal or experience I had with that of the the Maria incident, as well as the Beverly threatened to hit me with the pan. When I did file a complaint, and the way the case was even handled in favor of the perpetrators, I mean, I was wondering, and the thing was swept under the carpet, as if that was not enough. You have to bear in mind that it's this same Cameroonian teacher was there when Maria bumped into me. She bumped into me when I was standing at Kimbo, and he said nothing, and even to the point that she even threatened to do it again if I stand like that. Can you imagine? Now, this same chef and teacher had sexually harassed me by hitting my bum, which is unprofessional on all levels. And these things I'm saying can be verified from the CCTV footage at the setting at Lewisham College. This is unacceptable. The level of abuse I've been through, it is beyond imaginable. I just don't know. And of course, when you do go to places whereby you confide in people, because in my previous video, I quite remember saying that I went to the Citizens Advice Bureau in relation to the abuse and things I was going through especially in particular to my workplace or workplaces that I've worked with. And the outcome of that also was undesirable. So places where you are supposed to go for assistance, they in turn are also not proven to help. So it seems like when you look at your left or right, there's no form of help anywhere, which is very, very bad. So after these years, I mean, I always reflect on this incident, and it's unacceptable, and that is why I've decided to talk about this, because perhaps somebody may be going through a similar experience, and nobody should be put in a position like that, or should be put in a situation like that. So I've decided to speak about this. Nobody should condone any form of abuse whatsoever. Nobody should undergo such form of abuse. It is unacceptable on all levels. And in line with the Bible at James chapter 4 verse 17, this is the right thing to do, and I have decided to speak up, because this is unacceptable, as I've been saying all the time. And I don't know why I will be treated like this. It's very, very bad. Very, very bad. Very, very bad. Similarly, I had faced sexual advances from one of the Evra Korea called Monserrat, who joined Evra, I think, from the 24th of August, I think 2022. I think I've inserted a picture. This guy, anytime he comes, maybe I have an order and he comes to deliver, he'll be asking me questions. Sometimes, asking me questions, do I have a boyfriend, and things like that. And I've told him on several occasions that I'm not interested in his line of questioning and his advances, but this guy keeps on going on with whatever he's doing and mocking, sometimes very rude as well, and be cussing you in his language. you know, and all that. I don't know what is wrong with that guy, honestly. It was this same guy who was supposed to deliver the earpiece that I ordered for, and decided to put that earpiece on another neighbor's door and then marked it as delivered. It was this same Evra Korea who is bent on harassing and getting on my nerves. And so I remember the day I made a video and spoke about that incident, about the package incident, that he marked it as delivered. Meanwhile, the item wasn't delivered to me. However, when I asked the seller to ask the courier to provide a proof of him handing the item to me, he sent a picture of him placing the item on the doormat of another tenant. And so that was the proof that the seller sent to me, the photographic proof. And I was able to tell the seller that is not my doormat, and that's how come whatever mission or whatever he was up to was exposed. As if that wasn't enough, another incident too, I ordered for some items from Evra. I bought some things. I bought some things from eBay. Slip of tongue. From eBay. And again, for some strange reason, he was the same person allocated to my address. When he came, he marked the item as the item being delivered. So the item was supposed to have been delivered by the 20th. That was last year, somewhere in December. However, he marked it as being delivered on something like the 22nd was when the item was actually delivered. And that was another item I ordered for. And also one of my sons made a purchase. So when he came, he pressed the buzzer. I lifted it up, said hello. There was no response, so I put the buzzer down. For some strange reason, he managed to come through the entrance and then went up to deliver whatever he was going to deliver, the items. What he did was he put my son's package through my letterbox and then went up. And I will explain how I knew that. And then because I was wondering that after pressing the buzzer, I was assuming that I have a package. That is why he pressed the buzzer. But I waited by the door for a while. There was no response. So he went up and then came back and then knocked on the door, only to deliver my item. And then at the moment I opened the door, he took a picture of me. He was wearing a camera touch on his head, took a picture of me, and then he handed me my package. And then he directed me that I have a package inside the letterbox. And so as I was reaching out for that package, he took a picture as well. I don't know what motive or what he was up to by then. But then I went back to the previous order, which he marked as delivered, which was never delivered. And eventually it was refunded. And then I told the seller that this is what this guy has done. So in case he decides to send pictures or whatever. I mean, this is the situation, even to the point that I had to also provide photographic evidence to suggest that, to show the seller what I was, talking about. And then the seller came back and said that, okay, she's heard. That was the end. And then ever since I did that, I noticed that he no longer deliver item to my address, because it's obviously been fished out. I don't know why people will be so, cunning, so malicious. I just don't know. And obviously, they've been watching my video anytime I upload, because I remember the day I uploaded a video of me talking about that incident regarding him not delivering the item, yet slandering my name and making it look like he delivered it. He came back. I think I had an order. So he came back and he was laughing. He was laughing uncontrollably when he saw me. And then he went ahead by saying he wants to talk to me. I said, I'm not interested. He should respect himself. And then I told him that he has a problem. He needs help. Because I don't know why somebody would behave in such a manner. I wonder. So that's my encounter again with Evra. I had so many bad experiences with them. Honestly. So that's what I'm saying. There's something fishy going on. Because but I have the email, so this is it. So that's what I'm saying. There's something fishy going on. And the fact that last year they managed to come in, hiding it under the they wanted to install whatever it is, work on the meter, on the boiler, because the boiler wasn't working. Not knowing, they came here to come and fix oxygen machine without my consent. So if I wasn't sensible and smart enough to, fish these people out, that's how they would have put the oxygen machine, and then that would have, supported the fact that you people have it on your system, that there's somebody in the property that has oxygen. Do you see what I'm saying? I will have to expose the company. That's all I have to, because if this thing keeps on going on and only, sorry? That's what you need to do, Aisha. That's your prerogative. All I can do is make sure that I deal with my customers the way I need to do. Because this is really, really bad. You don't come to somebody's property to come and install something without their knowledge. It's wrong. Aisha, I understand that. I've not for one moment ever disputed anything you've told me today, Aisha. Okay? Not once have I ever disagreed with you. Okay? I totally agree. That we shouldn't have added you to the priority service register. So once again, I apologise we added you without your knowledge. And apologies, you were told it was removed and adjusted last April when it wasn't. Okay? So I have, as of that, I have now put an expiry. In regards to the Smith and Byford company, they did an annual gas check last year. That the new boiler was installed, they did say the certificates will be sent. I didn't receive any certificates whatsoever. So if it's an annual gas check, it's not even up to a year yet. They've sent me a letter as well as a message that on the 6th of February somebody will be attending to go through the gas system, the radiators, the gas heating system, gas cooker, and what have you. I've inserted a picture. And normally when they do come for the annual check, they hardly do, they don't go do that. So again, this is the issue. And with reference to the new boiler that was installed, and then the Honeywell thermostat, the one that you have to turn for you to get a heating, I noticed that in the when they installed it, initially when you want just the hot water on, if you press it, it's just the hot water that comes in. Similarly, if you want the radiator on, you just put it on. However, I've noticed that when I put on the hot water, it doesn't come on. I'll have to put on the hot water as well as the heat radiator before I can get the hot water running. So this was I didn't understand why, considering the fact that it was just last year, 2025, that they put the new boiler in and also did the Honeywell thermostat. So I called British Gas and obviously we liaised this with them. And they did say that they were going to send somebody over. And I explained to them that anytime I top up, the rate at which the consumption goes is very alarming. And so they did say they were going to put some will gesture or whatever it is. They were going to add £10 each to the gas and electric, which I never asked them to. I wasn't in favor of it. However, the gentleman I spoke to did do that, and they also said they were going to send somebody immediately. So I asked them, why are they going to do that? Because considering that the fact that it's a smart meter, so whatever it is, they could assess it from their end. So why does somebody need to come into the property? That was last year. Only for them to, this February, for them to say, send me a letter concerning this gas safety check. I don't even know what these people are up to, but this is just, by the way, I have inserted a picture in the video. So this is it. However, yeah, so I managed to, no, before then, so I had to put both the hot water on and as well as the heater, the radiator, before I can get hot water. But then all of a sudden, even that wasn't working. So for a month or so, that happened last year around November. So from December to early January, there was literally no hot water, and so I normally have to use the immersion thing, and then that consumes as well. So that's when I called the British Gas people, and they said they were going to send somebody immediately, and also to, However, I managed to find what the problem was, and that was rectified. And very soon or sooner, they did send a letter and a text message. That's as soon as I managed to rectify the issue, that's when they sent, because the British Gas guy I spoke to, they said they were going to get back to me on the following week, Monday. However, within that time frame, I managed to figure out what the issue was, and that was rectified. So, and I didn't receive any call from them anyway. However, the next moments, I got a text message as well as a letter through the post to say that they wanted to come in. The gas annual Smith and Byford gas safety annual check. They need to come and do that. And prior to that, they had also sent a letter, in January, to say that they need to check the electrical wiring and the electrical. It's like constantly they want to come, find an excuse to come here. I don't know what they are looking for, but this is it's just, I don't even know what to say, honestly. I don't know what these people want. We are done with the Eckington Gardens. That's where New Cross. That's where I was threatened by Isioma. So now we are at the Bonar Road Park in Peckham. It's not far from Sumner Road. So a few days in my previous video, I posted a video of how I was bullied and the effects on me and restricting me from working because of the toxic environment. So a few days after I posted that video, I went to the park to feed the birds as usual, and so there used to be at the park. There used to be a tree there. I've inserted a picture. I've even made several videos there, and I'm wearing a burnt orange trousers and a pink top. I made a video under that tree, and hence you can see the reason why I'm standing there with the next to the tree. So I went there to feed the birds, and as I was doing that, I noticed that there was a black car, private car, and the windows were closed, so I couldn't really, and the glass were a bit tainted. I couldn't see the person inside. The car nearly ran me over. It came with such a speed at where I was standing. I wasn't on in the middle of the road or anything, but I was just standing where the tree was. And as you can see, where the location of the tree and where the proximity of where I was standing, it's not actually in the middle of the road. This private car, black car, nearly knocked me over if I wasn't swift enough to move away quickly. And I feel like this, my life is being threatened, not just because apart from the verbal threats and then the assaults, physical assaults, in institutions whereby they are supposed to protect, that isn't the case. And then to post a video and then to experience this is just an unimaginable. So that is the Bonar Park experience. So Lidl is one of the places I often like to do my shopping there. And again, anytime I go there, I often like to feed the birds. So one day when I went shopping, as you can see in the video, you see the birds. So I normally feed them before I actually go and do my shopping. I noticed that there was this short man, very dark, and he stood, as I was feeding the bird, he stood. He was inside his car. The man was actually in the car, because as I started to feed the birds, I noticed that he came out of the car, also holding a food in the white plastic bag, and came to stand next to me and started sprinkling a yellow content. I don't know what sort of food that was, but I noticed that that car has been there It's more like, because I normally go there every Wednesdays. So it's like the person who, the person in particular knew the kind of day I often go shopping. So the car was parked there, because as I came with my trolley and I put the trolley down, started to feed the birds, I noticed the car was there. And then the man came out of the car, like a white car, holding that white plastic bag with the food, came to stand close next to me. And then I shifted, I took my trolley, moved away. The man stood there looking at me and nodding. I didn't, it's very strange to just stand next to somebody and also be doing, because so I'm thinking, if you really wanted to feed these birds, you would have done it. Why is it that the moment I came, put down my trolley and started to feed these birds, you also came with your bag of food or whatever it is and started to feed the birds? And then you had the nerve to also look at my face. When somebody is looking at you, and even you could tell. And then he kept on nodding the head. He kept on nodding his head. So this is just one incident. And also within the shopping, within the shop itself, after I had, whilst I was shopping, I noticed that there was this dark woman, very tall. Well, I would say very, very tall. As I was looking at the item I wanted to purchase, where I was standing, this woman came right in front of where I was standing and stepped on my feet and pretended as if she wasn't aware of what she did. So I drew her attention that she just stepped me. She turned and looked at my face and said sarcastically, "Sorry, yo." And then I moved away from there. So after I had gone around and done my shopping, I was about to, scan my items and then pay for it. I noticed that this same woman, by this time, she had another person with her, also a woman. They are older women, So I was at the right side of where the scanning machine is. So they came to stand, the left side was vacant. They came to stand next to me there on the left side. And as I kept on scanning my items, they kept looking at my direction and kept giggling, gossiping and giggling, among themselves. Of course, I paid no heed, scanned my item, paid, and then left. But these are some of the things I face, and on every time I face this kind of challenges, I always try as much as possible to ignore, because I don't like confrontation. That's the thing about me. I don't like confrontation. And I feel like, something is not right, because I don't know these people from anywhere. And for them to be doing that, it's just out of the ordinary. So, again, I like to pay no heed. But then, of course, I had to bring it out here, because someone might be experiencing what I'm going through. So I feel like, the onus lies on me to also voice out. Never tolerate any form of abuse whatsoever, either physically, emotionally, sexually, any form of abuse, you have to voice out. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So this is the little incident. I'm calling about my order. I still haven't received it. This is Iceland. I have not received the item, but I don't know why it's showing on the system that it's been delivered. I spoke to Kay, and he said that he managed to speak to his manager, who contacted the Camberwell branch. So when am I receiving my order, or you people refund me the money? Because you people have not. You've taken the money out of my account, but you haven't delivered the item. And if you claim you've delivered it, well, who did you deliver it to? Because it's not to flat 15. I don't have it.
On my end, it shows the thing. Please bear with me so that I can just quickly check. So it shows on my end that the order was delivered, but there was no access to the premises.
Sorry? It was delivered.
It shows on my end that there was no access to the premises.
So no access to the premises. Does that mean it's been delivered? Why is it showing on my side that it's delivered?
No, on my end it's showing that there was no access to the premises, and there is an email that was sent to the store, right?
Sorry?
And there is an email that was sent to the store for them to arrange a rate delivery for this order, but there is still no response yet from the store, right?
The person, the driver, did they send email to the store that they should arrange redelivery?
No. We sent an email from on our end when you first contacted us regarding the order, and that was on the 31st actually. We contacted the store, but we were unable to get through to the store. So an email was sent to the store, right? So they can arrange a redelivery for you for the order.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it wasn't actually the 31st that you said. I called on the 30th. The same day I called. I didn't really, and today is the 1st of August, and I still haven't received the item. Yet you people have taken, but you've taken the money out of my account. It doesn't make sense. If you are not bringing the item, you people should refund me my money. It's as simple as that.
I do understand, Linda. Sylvia, can I just place you on hold so I can try this now?
Yeah, but you people always place me on hold, and you come back without any satisfactory, whatever it is. Anyway.
The thing is, in order for us to process the refund for you, we need a confirmation from the that the order was not sent out.
Okay, fair enough. But you just said you on your system is saying that it was it was never delivered. So okay, you confirm. It doesn't make sense.
Yes, but on your end it shows that the order was delivered.
Exactly, but that was never true. I never have the item here. If I have it, do you think I will be calling? And does that make sense? If they've delivered it, why will I need to be called?
I do understand, Sylvia. No worries. Let me follow up. Let me contact the store, okay?
Okay. As long as you don't come back and say you didn't get access to them, because that's what you people have been saying all along.
Right. Let me try them. Right.
Okay.
Can I just place you on hold for 2
minutes? Okay. The best thing is to just go to execute the transaction, because it doesn't make sense. I'm not getting any solution from this. Hello? This morning.
I did.
Yes, and then they said they spoke to the area manager. So what was the So with the Iceland branch, the Camberwell Road one, one time I went there to do some shopping, and this young English guy, all of a sudden sprang from nowhere. He came to stand next to us because I went with someone, I don't need to really mention who it was, holding the camera and then taking pictures. So I drew the attention of the one, I was with. So after we had finished, doing the shopping, we went to scan our items. The guy rushed in front of us towards where we were standing. Again, was taking a video of the Iceland logo. I don't know what the motive was. So as we kept looking at him, and he rushed outside. He rushed outside the building, the Iceland building. And because the Iceland, their stores, they normally have glass. It's made of glass, so you could actually, although he was outside, you could see him through the window or through the glass. So he was outside on his phone, chatting, looking at us and talking. So after we finished paying for the item and we came out, we noticed that he was looking at our direction, but we paid no heed. And I'm very sure, again, that guy had an agenda. I don't know, because it just doesn't make sense. The whole thing doesn't make sense. So this is the Iceland branch, the one in Camberwell Road, to be precise, to be exact or precise. And then with the Pencam one, Iceland branch, again, I normally, anytime I'm going shopping, I like to, sometimes we need a couple of stuff, go there to buy it. And on one particular day when I went there, again, I went there with someone. We noticed that this woman, very short, dark, he had a silky hair, from a Somalia background. She walked up towards us, but then she held herself back and moved back. So after we had done our shopping and everything, she kept on saying, talking. She kept on walking towards us and talking. I don't know, and then the person I was said, she's just babbling, a lot of nonsense, because it doesn't make sense. So another incident, when I went there to do some shopping, I was there alone. I noticed that this woman, the same woman I just described, just stood next to where I was, and she kept on looking at me. So when I turned to look at her, it's like she turned away and decided to engage herself, to be busy doing something. So the stack of basket there, she now changed the focus and was tried to remove the baskets, as if that was initially what she was doing. So again, I don't know. I don't know the reason why she was doing that. Anyway, and I don't have the time to even ask her why she was even doing that anyway. So I've inserted a picture in in this video. So with the Asda, the Old Kent Road, I ordered a handheld. I bought a handheld blender. However, within a short period, it was faulty, so I had to return it. And for me to do that, I had to go in person to the store, because I bought it from the store. It wasn't like an online something. So for you to return it, you have to do that. So I went there to do that, and as I was coming back, I had crossed the road to the other side where the bus stop was. So I stood there waiting for my bus, and I noticed that there was this lady with a navy, the navy green trousers with a black top and blonde hair. She stood there, kept on looking at my direction. Initially, I didn't really take notes, but so I turned away just to see whether she would like move the head. But when I turned back, she was still looking at my direction. So I stood there for a while, kept on looking at her, and then I took out my phone and then held it up. So the moment I started to do that, she moved her head away, and then she folded her hands. She folded her hands and moved her head away, as you can see in the insert. So very strange. I don't know, because if she didn't have any ulterior motive, or she wasn't she hasn't been recruited to do, why would you be looking at somebody? Stanley, she kept on moving without shifting her focus. The moment I took out my phone and she saw me holding it up, she turned her face. So that's the Asda. And with Asda, I've also had experiences in the past whereby I've made an order for groceries and the driver had pressed the buzzer and I had released it. However, the driver kept on pressing the buzzer and pressing. So later on, I heard that there wasn't any sound anymore. That it's like the person was no longer pressing the buzzer. And here I was waiting or expecting my order to be delivered because food items I needed it. And so I stood there for a while. I was wondering why this driver or my items, because normally when you order items, food, groceries online or whatever, and they bring it, they are supposed to bring it up. And this is a case whereby the guy kept on pressing the buzzer, and then I'll lift up the phone and say, open. But for some strange reason, this guy kept on pressing it. Anyway, I took the phone, the intercom phone, and then I pressed to release the door. So I was expecting the person to come up with my item. They didn't. So it took some time, a couple of minutes. And then I looked through the window. That day it was even raining heavily. And lo and behold, this driver had opened the van, was sitting inside the van, with the door open. Meanwhile, my items or groceries, he had packed them in the trolley and had left it in the rain, which just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So I had to go downstairs and then asked him why he refused to bring the items up. He said, I have to come for it. Seriously, it's raining and you've left it. So I queried him as to why he left my item on the rain and he's sitting comfortably inside the van. So he got upset. He said I was shouting at him. He got upset, offended, packed the things. So he never delivered the item. So I had to call Asda, narrate the incident to him, to them, and then they had to issue a refund. So these are some of the things that happens when I order things online. And you've heard the incident with the Iceland one that it took 3 days. The item wasn't still, delivered. Meanwhile, they've marked it as delivered. So this is just one of the incidents, the from Asda. So in regards to the Peckham library, I've registered with that library for years. So I normally go there to assess my work, sometimes to read and what have you. But I noticed that somewhere in 2022 when I went there just to assess my work and also to print some documents, the card I had, the library card that I've been using for years was no longer, I couldn't actually use it to access any of the computers because with the card, it wasn't expired or anything. With the card, once you have the card, it has your name, your number, library number, and so for you to access any of the computers there, you needed to type in your number as well as your password, which was what I did. However, I wasn't able to get through to it. And also to print out any form of documentation or anything of work or whatever, you need to scan there's a scanner machine there that is responsible for booking a computer and also for printing your documents. But for you to use it, you have to put your card through the scanner, which will scan, and then your details will come in, and then you need to input in what you want, the service you want. So this is something that I've been doing, but all of a sudden, when I scanned the card, it wasn't going through, and I was baffled. So I went to the reception and retweeted whatever, or liaised this with them, to them, that I'm trying to access one of their computers to use it for my work, but I'm trying to log in, but it's not allowing me to go through. So they asked me if I typed in the number as well as the password, and I said I did that, and it wasn't going through. And also I tried to use the scanner machine as well. It wasn't going through. However, I've noticed that people come in and obviously they do that, like the right way to do it, and then they are able to, like the normal way which I did as well. They also, I noticed that an English lady came. She was using the scanner machine. She scanned her card, and they printed some documents. So I was really confused as to why, or I was really baffled, that's the word, as to why she was able to, use her card. However, I wasn't. So I went to the reception inquiring as to why this is, and they weren't really giving me any tangible response or reasons. And then the lady at the reception said, I should give her a card and then she could do it from her end. And I said, well, I don't want it to be like that. Well, I want a situation whereby when I come, I will be able to access the computers myself. I wouldn't have to necessarily come through the reception because, sometimes there's a queue there. And to prevent you from standing in the queue and waiting, the whole point of having a card is that you'll be able to use your details to be able to access any of the computers there or to print any document if so needed. So why do I have to? And so I think one of the lady next to her said that perhaps maybe the card is expired or what. I said no, it's not expired, so she should even check the date. It's not expired. So she typed in the details into the system, and then, there was something like hash, something going on, which really didn't really make sense anyway. So, because this was something like cumbersome for me, because anytime I have to go there, I either stay in the queue which so much inconvenience. Eventually, I had to stop accessing the library because I don't see why they will condone discrimination. So discrimination and abuse and whatever, I've faced it firsthand in almost all areas, and as highlighted in this video. So, I mean, public library where anybody should be able to access it for their work or whatever. I mean, again, here I was facing this kind of problem, which doesn't, and others are not, which didn't really make sense. So, that's the incident with the Peckham Library. And then in with the Peckham Post too, that's a place whereby, again, in 2022, I enrolled on the at the Peckham Post for some swimming lessons, and also to an opportunity to get fit. When I enrolled on the course, there weren't a lot in number. Later on, and especially the day I normally go swimming, it was a very quiet day. There's not a lot of people there. But then I noticed that the numbers started increasing. And what was so baffling about this was, because of course people can enroll and the numbers can increase. But what was really baffling about this was that we had a mixture of older people enrolling as well as younger ones. However, these older people, women, will come up to me and ask certain questions. I don't know what that, which has got nothing to do with why I was there or the swimming, And of course, I wasn't entertaining. It kept on going. So even when it came to the time where the swimming session had to end, was coming to an abrupt end, the lady, the instructor, what was convincing me to extend the session, which doesn't really make sense. So, I'm the type of individual, I can sense when something is up. So I just advised myself, and I had to quit. So I stopped going altogether. And then from there, they sent me barrages of emails concerning, free, free swimming lessons, just to get me back to enroll and whatever, or to progress with the course. So that's what do you call it? The Peckham Pause incident. So in my previous video, I mentioned that due to the level of abuse I was facing, and the fact that the work environment was unconducive, I had to stop work. And so I was actively looking for a job. That is the requirements of the job center. And also there are courses to visit the journal. And so on this occasion, coach posted an IT course on the journal, which I was really interested in. So I did express interest to do the course. It's got nothing to do with employment anyway. And so I presume that the work coach sent the details to the company, and I'll explain why I'm saying that. Because it wasn't long, I got a WhatsApp text message in relation to the IT course. I've inserted a screenshot here. And the person in question was called Mike from Seldon or whatever, B2W. And he was inquiring. I mean, the line of communication on WhatsApp, things he was requesting for, sounded a bit questionable. So, and also, so I wasn't really convinced within myself. So at a point to this, he sent a text message to say that I should sign some documents or whatever it was. And also I was explicit in saying that I did not want my details to be sent to any third parties or any employer or whatever it was, and he was still like pushing it for me to sign. And I was, like I said, I wasn't convinced of the whole, because the line of conversation, the way things were going on, I wasn't convinced. So I had to send him a message that I was no longer interested in the course. And also so he sent a reply, an email reply, to say that he was so sorry to hear that I was no longer interested in the course. Of course, I wasn't prepared to consent to any signing or whatever, because they weren't really adhering to whatever I was saying, and the line of conversation, I mean, the kind of queries or questions they were asking, is nothing related to the course. So I had to quit, or I had to forego even starting the course in the first place. Yeah. So in addition, I had also mentioned in my previous video that I had expressed interest in like setting up my own business as a way to be in employment long term, and also to contribute to the economy. And as you know, because the way I was being treated within work setting wasn't conducive. So I went to the job center, expressed this to my coach. I said that wasn't a problem and they can do that. So, however, the company that would, assist me in doing that, they are called Themes Rich. So he referred me to the place, So when I went there at the reception, obviously I had to, check in. So I have to tell the receptionist who I was, or why I was there. And so, I checked in, and then I stood there waiting at the reception area. And then I was introduced to this Nigerian, male Nigerian, a bit, it wasn't that tall. I'll say average height, very dark, and very plumpy, I'll say a bit heavy, in stature. So he led me into the interview room, which I've inserted a picture with an arrow. So that's the actual room that he directed me, or we went to. So as I sat there, and I asked if they do assist people in setting up businesses or to become self-employed, because that is my interest. And he said, yeah, they could do that. So I had a form in front of him, and I did request to have the form so that I'll go through it and then I'll fill it myself. However, he was reluctant to give me the form, and he said, he will fill it. So he asked the questions and then he will fill it. However, the line of the line of questioning, again, anywhere I go, to be quite honest, I always like to pray, because I don't like to rely on my own abilities or my own strength when it comes to spirituality, because I believe even the Bible says that we should, it is not right for man to direct his own steps. So I like to allow God to direct my own steps. So I always like to pray in any circumstances I find myself in, whether I'm going to take an exam, whether I'm learning, anywhere I'm going even. So in situations whereby I have been like threatened or assaulted, or somebody is trying to provoke me, you see that because I've prayed, I always find myself being calm. and all that. So in this case, the way this Nigerian, interviewer was asking the questions, I wasn't convinced. So I was insisting on him giving me the form. So eventually, and I also told him that, look, I am doing a degree, and also I think as at that time I had almost completed, and I was doing my master. So he needs to give it to me to read, because I don't like the fact that he would be asking me questions, because somebody might ask you questions. However, what if the questions they're asking is not related to even what is on the form? Some people can be that, and especially with everything, the incident that I've narrated, I don't trust these people. So that's another reason why I was insisting. So eventually, he gave in by giving me the form. So I went through the form, and I noticed that some of the questions he was asking is really not related to any of the questions outlined on the form. So immediately I told him that I was no longer interested in this interview or whatever, and it's also got nothing to do with them helping me to set up a business. So you see, my instincts and the power of prayer. So if I hadn't insisted, this is how come. I don't know whether he was assuming that he could ask any questions and then eventually get me to sign or whatever. These people. Anyway, so I didn't go through with the interview. And then he said that since, we weren't commencing with the interview, then there's no need for me to have the paper, the form. So he took it from my hand and tore it into pieces. Very, very fishy, honestly. I mean, if I should narrate things that I've been through, you have no idea. You have no idea. I have really, really been through, the level of abuse, the level of manipulation, and the level of sinister behavior from these people. I just don't understand why this will happen to anyone. This will happen to me, for that matter. So I was due for a smear test, and I did call the GP to book an appointment for that. However, they said nobody was available to conduct the smear test, and therefore they sent me to another place, which I think it was in Dulwich, so I told the receptionist that it's quite fine. I need something personal, to where I was. So they came back and said that they've managed to book or an appointment for me at the Lister. The Lister primary care. So on the day of the appointment, which was on a Saturday, I was attended to by an English lady who was advanced in years, and she seemed like she was being friendly, like she seemed friendly. And then she obviously welcomed me in, asked me how I was and how things were going. I don't know what she meant by that and why she would even ask that. And then and also noticed that she was, throwing some sort of sarcasm and, questioning me again, questioning me or querying me, which really has nothing to do with why I was there. And I think one of the comments she said is that her mom didn't teach her how to iron or something like that. I don't know the context in which she made that statement. And of course, as me, I like to mind my business, so I didn't really ask her why she made or why she said that, because I was there to have a smear test, and the smear test is what I will have. So as to what motive or whatever intentions they have, I'm not gonna condone it whatsoever. So this is just something that I like to chip in, because I just want you people to have an overview of. It's not like it's an isolated incident, like different settings that I find myself in. The level of maltreatment or inequality that I've faced, I feel like it is very pertinent, and it is needed for me to express this. And of course, in line with the scripture also in line with the scripture at James chapter 4 verse 17, this is the right thing to do. And also, as this will serve as a form of motivation for others out there who are in similar circumstances or situation and are afraid to voice out, due to what they might face or whatever. I believe it's the right thing, because even the Bible says if you know what is right and you don't do it, it is considered not a good thing. So hence the need to put it out here, because this is unacceptable on all levels. It's unethical on all grounds. So I do hope that if you find yourself in such a circumstance or such a situation, you find solace in this video, and don't be deterred to voice out. You have to speak up, because people will threaten you, just like I mentioned that in my previous video, the one that I uploaded just a few days after uploading the video. My life was basically threatened. I nearly got knocked over by a car, a black private car, and because the glass of that car was held up and the glass was a bit tinted, I couldn't really see who was in the vehicle. So no, even if you are threatened or people, you have to speak up. You need to speak up, because that will help somebody out there. So until then, it's a goodbye from me to you. Bye.